need to progress the Barrow Blueway through County Kildare? Will be hidden.
Ceann Comhairle, and I thank the Minister for taking this very important issue today regarding the need for us to progress the Barrow Blueway. Minister, you'll be aware of my keen interest in progression of the Blueway through County Kildare. It's something I've raised with you and your officials on a number of occasions in the past. The Barrow Blueway project, as you know, has been dealt with by Waterways Ireland. Originally made applications to Kildare, Laois and Carlow County Councils in 2017 for the development of the Barrow towpath to enable it to become a Blueway. The planned upgrade was to provide a multi-use shared leisure route connecting Lowtown beside Robertstown in County Kildare, Ceann Comhairle, you'll be well familiar with it, to St Mullins in County Carlow, a distance of 115 kilometres of off-road, flat, accessible public space. The original proposed trail was to pass through the village of Robertstown and the towns of Rathangan, Monasterevin and Athy in County Kildare, linking on to Carlow, and was anticipated to become a Blueway, as I say. There's huge interest and support for this project in County Kildare, Minister, and it's the one thing I want to do and put on the record here, that despite pockets of objections further south in other counties, the people of Kildare are absolutely supportive of this project and believe it's the right thing to do and can see the huge potential of it when we look at other greenways and blueways and the economic prosperity they've brought to other rural areas and towns and villages around the area. So look, there's a long planning history that I won't go into since then, but basically An Bord Pleanála ruled on the project in February 2019, refusing permission for the development along the Barrow in all three counties of Carlow, Kildare and Laois, as was proposed. However, the Kildare and Laois decision only pertains to the riverbank itself, and Waterways Ireland has still been given the green light for the new track, a section of about 50 kilometres along the canal section from Lowtown, Robertstown to Athy. The main purpose of my topical issue here today, Minister, is to find out the intentions of Waterways Ireland now for the progression of the Blueway in County Kildare, where it's much anticipated and looked forward to by recreational users and businesses alike. Waterways Ireland had said very clearly in their applications to An Bord Pleanála previously that they would only proceed with the project in its entirety, the 115 kilometres. I would argue with you that 50 kilometres in Kildare is plenty, is ample to make its case to stand on its own 2 feet. And I've no doubt that some of the people in Carlow who objected previously, not fully knowing what's wanted, if they saw the success of this developed in Kildare, would be screaming for it to be extended down to St Mullins and Carlow in time. But that's their own business, and that's another lookout for another day. What we want to focus on is the area that we do have planning permission for, and just because certain elements of it down along the Barrow didn't get extended, there's enough in Kildare to make it feasible and to develop that amount of area, and to give us that opportunity in Kildare, in Rathangan, in Monasterevin and in Athy to develop the economic activity that can spin off from that when we look at other areas. Minister, you know, I'm familiar with the Greenway in Waterford and Dungarvan. It attracted 250,000 visitors between March and December in 2017. Each visitor spending on average close on €30 for every visitor in the locality. But for those who stayed overnight, they spent almost €110 is the analysis of it. That's the type of economic activity that could transform Monasterevin, Rathangan, Athy and all of the areas in between. And that's what we want to see developed. And I'm asking you, through your good offices, to implore Waterways Ireland to drive on with the Kildare element, to let us get that developed and to show exactly the potential and the huge benefit that this can be for our area, and to show off the beautiful landscape and countryside that we have in South Kildare to the many visitors. The other huge benefit of this as well is, starting in Robertstown, with the Greenway coming to Robertstown, you will then have a direct link for South Kildare to Dublin, and we know how many tourists land in Dublin. An awful lot of them drive through Kildare. Our challenge is to get them to slow down and to spend the night and to stay in Kildare, but if we have this direct access, a Greenway and a Blueway all the way to South Kildare from Dublin will give us a huge opportunity in the south of the county.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Hayden, for raising this issue. I acknowledge your keen interest in the Barrow Blueway. Work on developing the Royal Canal Greenway from Maynooth to Richmond Harbour in Clondara, County Longford as a walking and cycling destination is nearing completion. At 119 kilometres in length, this will be one of the largest greenways and blueways in Europe, and the Royal Canal Blueway at Mullingar offers 23 kilometres of paddling. And also the Grand Canal towpath is being upgraded, and Waterways Ireland is working with local authorities, leader groups, the National Transport Authority and the National Trails Office to ensure planning and funding are progressed. And Waterways Ireland views blueways and greenways as a vital means of encouraging the development of recreational opportunities in rural areas, and our experience has shown that the branding of trails such as greenways or blueways attracts visitors, resulting in rural generation. And the development of trails encourages private entrepreneurs to establish or to extend recreation activity businesses such as bicycle hire, canoe hire and paddleboarding. And blueways are not just the provision of infrastructure, but more importantly, they provide a model for partnership collaboration between the private sector, community and voluntary sector and local and national state bodies in the provision of sustainable services, which provide access to recreation activities for both local people and visitors alike. And the Blueway model has worked successfully on the North Shannon, with all of these bodies working in partnership to provide rural regeneration in areas where tourism was not previously high on the agenda. So Waterways Ireland is continuing to support and expand the existing network of Blueway trails across its waterways, including the Shannon Blueway, the Shannon Erne Blueway, the Lough Derg Blueway and the Mullingar Blueway on the Royal Canal. In relation to the Barrow Blueway, Waterways Ireland received the decision on the appeal for the development of the Barrow Blueway from An Bord Pleanála on the 10th of April of this year, which the Deputy is probably aware of, and the decision effectively upheld the decisions of Kildare, Laois and Carlow planning authorities, granting permission for the proposed development from Lowtown to Athy, which is called the canal section, but refusing permission from Athy to St Mullins, which is the river section. And the primary refusal reason in each case related to the Board's opinion that the potential impacts of the proposed development on the special area of conservation could not be ruled out, arising from the use of the unbound material in areas that could flood. They highlighted an associated perceived potential impact of the proposed development on ecology. And Waterways Ireland has considered the detailed inspector's report and had a number of options available to it. The first was to seek a judicial review of the Bord Pleanála decision, and this option has not been pursued. The second was to develop the element already granted permission and seek funding to develop the towpath from Lowtown to Athy, as planning has been granted for this section, and funding could be sought under the next round of Greenway strategy funding. And whilst funders have shown significant interest in the potential of a full Barrow Trail, the potential success of an application for part of the route would have to be discussed. And Kildare County Council has indicated that it would be keen that this is progressed. The third option then was to submit a new planning application for the areas which have not been given consent, and this would of course require a redesign informed by further review and landscape assessments, and in order to do this it will be necessary to undertake a detailed hydrological model for the Barrow catchment. A detailed flood risk assessment will be a very large project in itself and would also be subject to challenge in terms of the certainty that is required in order to conclude on potential impacts. And this is not an option which Waterways Ireland feels would have a successful outcome at this time. The fourth option then is pause development and work with all of the local authorities, sports partnerships, communities and groups along the route of the Barrow to activate the area as much as possible in terms of recreation and tourism. And Waterways Ireland is currently organising an entire Barrow walk during the European Week of Sport in September. And by undertaking such programmes, it will be hoped to positively impact on mindsets in the area.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Hayden.
Count Corley, I'd like to thank the Minister for her detailed response and listing out the options that are there. I think it's very clear what option we would like in Kildare, and I would very much agree with Kildare County Council that we would like to see option 2 developed, and you know that we would be in a position that the Kildare element that we have planning permission for, that is ready to go, that could be considered as part as the next round of the Greenway strategy funding for that element. I think the cost for the entire Barrow Blueway down to St Mullins and Carlow had been costed at around 11 million. Obviously, to do that's the 115 kilometres. To do just 50 kilometres in Kildare would be significantly less, but the economic return for our area would be really, really significant. In Athy, you know, we have a canoe loop already around with Vickerstown, so the ability for people to cycle, to walk, to trek, and then to canoe as well would be part of that. And you know, Athy is a very unique town, Minister, situated on the banks of both the Grand Canal and the River Barrow, between its famous Try Athy event, the Dragon Boat Racing, Canoe Club, and very ambitious plans for a new water sports hub. It has embraced water sports and tourism potential that can be offered to the town. And this investment, you know, would see a huge shot in the arm for Athy. In Monasterevin, it's known as the Venice of Ireland, and along with Ratangan, these are towns in rural parts of South Kildare where we don't have enough economic activity, and tourism is a key option there that would linking us directly with Dublin, the Dublin tourist market, and where visitors come in, really would be a very exciting opportunity for businesses and individuals to consider setting up cafes and all the different spin-off industry that comes from this. I know with my family on a recent holiday a couple of years ago, at this stage now, over in Mayo, cycling out from Achill along the Greenway there, all of the different businesses that had sprung up that hadn't existed before, and the same in Waterford. And I do say to you, Waterford with 250,000 visitors is just 46 kilometres. What we're looking for in Kildare is 50,000. So I very much would implore you to use your office that option 2 would be the preferred option from our point of view in Kildare. Down the line we might look at new planning applications to try and deliver the overall Barrow Blueway, but for now let's prove that Kildare can be the success that it can be and give us every opportunity to have that economic development that is so crucial for the south of our county.
Minister, to conclude.
To conclude, Ciancórla, as part of the evaluation of the above options, Waterways Ireland is exploring the availability of third-party funding for the Lowtown to Athy County Kildare section, and it's anticipated that the evaluation of options will be completed in the coming months. And given the success of Blueway projects to date, and recognising the capacity, resource, seasonality and mobilisation constraints, and that this is a matter in the first instance for Waterways Ireland, it is my view that the body should now proceed to plan, schedule and resource those elements of the project for which planning is secure. So, Deputy, that is in effect option 2 of the options that I laid out to you. My department will continue to engage with Waterways Ireland in that end. Just to say to you that it is my desire that this goes ahead, as you have outlined yourself. However, Waterways Ireland will ultimately make that decision themselves. And I know that there's a Waterways Ireland Monitoring Committee meeting on the 9th of July. But as I said myself, it is my desire that we can go ahead with the parts of the project that have planning permission and go ahead with that, because I think some of the advantages that you've outlined in terms of tourism, in terms of cafes, in terms of it being an exciting opportunity overall for Kildare should be acknowledged. And you know, even if we can't do all of the Barrowway at the moment, we should certainly try and do those aspects and those parts that, as I said, have planning permission. There are many Blueway initiatives throughout the country. It's a multi-activity trail on or along the water, and it's defined by trailheads with readily available trail information and safe access points to the recreation activity. And as you said, Deputy, they're not only recreational trails, but they link the physical activity with places to rest. They have refreshments, visit heritage sites and places of interest. They can browse the local arts and crafts and experience the local culture. So overall, as I said, Deputy, I thank you for raising this. I know how important it is to Kildare, and your enthusiasm I acknowledge. And as I said, my desire is that option 2 would go ahead, and we await the decision of Waterways Ireland on the 9th of July.
Thank you, Minister.